The knock came after midnight, soft, deliberate, like someone asking for permission to enter a grave. I opened the door, and there they were, two little ghosts, with hollow black eyes and pillowcases held out. But Halloween was over. The candy was gone. And whatever they were, they hadn't come for sweets. Welcome to Eerie Short and Scary Stories, with a veil between this world and the next is paper thin, and every tale whispers something unsettling. Tonight, we unwrap a Halloween visit that should never have happened. I've never liked Halloween. Not anymore. It wasn't always that way. There was a time when I loved it. I used to decorate the porch with fake cobwebs, carve 3 pumpkins minimum, each with a different ridiculous face, and sit by the door with a massive bowl of candy in my lap, waiting for the kids to show up. I knew most of them by name back then. There was a rhythm to it, a kind of joy. You could feel the night buzzing with excitement and sugar highs. Then one year, it changed, and I never put the decorations up again. I don't talk about that night. Haven't told a soul, not even the deputy who showed up the morning after with more questions than answers. I just stopped. Cold turkey. From that point on, October 31st became a ghost day in my calendar, one I skipped entirely. I started a new tradition: disappear. Find a remote cabin, kill the lights, lock the doors, and let the night pass me by without a sound. I'd leave town a day early, no notice, no invitations, no candy, every year without fail, except this one. I don't know what it was, some strange feeling. Maybe I woke up that morning with every intention of packing a bag. I even opened the trunk and tossed in the flannel shirts I always brought for the mountain chill. But something pulled me back. Something in me said, don't go this time. And I listened. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe I was tired of running. Or maybe, and this is the part one keep coming back to, maybe it wasn't my decision at all. I stayed. I told myself I'd just keep the lights off and let the night go by. I hadn't seen trick-or-treaters on my street in years. Not since that Halloween. The one that changed everything. You know, I used to get a lot of them. Kids from 3 for streets over. I was known for giving out the full-size candy bars. I used to sit on that front step with a beer and just enjoy the parade. The kids would run up laughing, tripping over their capes and princess dresses, their plastic pumpkins rattling with loot. Then, the year after the incident, they stopped coming. Just like that. No warning. No angry neighbors. No signs on the door. Halloween came, and the porch stayed empty. It was like someone had flipped a switch. Like the house was no longer visible to them. Or worse, like they avoided it. I still remember turning on the porch light that first year afterward. Just out of habit. I sat there with a candy bowl on my lap, like always, watching the hours pass, waiting for someone, anyone, to knock. But no one did. Not a single footstep. Just silence. That silence, it's louder than you'd think. It gets under your skin after a while. Makes you wonder if the house itself remembers, if it holds onto things. That kind of memory doesn't fade with time. It settles into the walls, into the floorboards, into you. So this year, when I stayed, it wasn't just a break in tradition. It felt like acknowledgement, like something or someone had been waiting for me to stop running, waiting for me to come home. And the moment I did, the moment I stepped through that door and decided just this once to ignore my ritual, I swear to you, the house felt different. Quieter, heavier, like it had been holding its breath. And I just let it exhale. It was late, later than I thought. I must have nodded off in the chair again. No lights were on. I'd left them off on purpose. That was the whole idea. Keep the house dark, keep the night moving. I remember my neck aching from the way I'd slumped to one side. The room was quiet, just the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak from the beams above me. Old houses like mine never really settle. They just shift little by little, like they're trying to stretch something out. That's when I heard it. A knock. Not loud, not sharp, just soft. like someone gently tapping with the tips of their fingers. Almost polite, almost practiced, like they'd done it before. I sat up straight, immediately alert, though I didn't move from the chair right away. I stared at the front door, half expecting it to have been a dream. My heart wasn't racing, but it was awake now, very much awake. I turned my head to check the clock on the microwave across the room. 12:17 a.m. Halloween was over. Even the teens would have gone home by now. No one trick-or-treated past 10 anymore. And no one ever came to my house. Not since that night. I should have stayed put. I should have ignored it. But something tugged at me. A knot in my gut that felt more like curiosity than fear. I got up and made my way to the door. No lights turned on as I passed. I hadn't set any timers. Still, the porch should have lit up. I'd installed a motion sensor years ago. It had always been sensitive. Squirrels, moths, even the wind sometimes triggered it. But now, nothing. I opened the door slowly. Didn't even get a full view of the porch before I saw them. 2 children, standing side by side. They were small, maybe 6 or 7 at most, dressed in what looked like classic ghost costumes. Plain white sheets with holes cut where their eyes should be. The kind you'd expect to see in an old cartoon or a lazy last-minute costume. But there was something wrong about them, the way they stood there. Silent. Still. Their arms didn't move. Their feet didn't shuffle. Just frozen. And the eye holes. Black. Empty. Like staring into ink. They didn't speak. Didn't fidget. Didn't even seem to breathe. They simply lifted their arms, holding out old pillowcases with both hands, like they were waiting for something they were owed. I didn't say a word either. I just reached inside, pulled a few pieces of candy from the bowl I hadn't touched all night, and dropped them in. I didn't look too hard at their hands. I didn't want to, but I couldn't ignore the cold. It came off them in waves, like standing near a freezer with the door wide open. The air around them didn't just feel chilly, it felt wrong. Too dense, like it was being held in place by something unnatural. Still, I tried to play it off. Just kids, I told myself. Just kids with weird timing, and even weirder costumes. Maybe someone's twisted idea of a prank. Maybe. Then one of them spoke. A whisper, just above the breeze. One last trick-or-treat. That's all they said. 5 words. It was the way they said it that got to me. It didn't sound like a request. It didn't even sound like a sentence meant for me. It sounded like a line. Memorized. Rehearsed. The kind of thing a child repeats because they were taught to say it. And when it left their mouth, I felt that same knot in my stomach twist hard. Like those 5 words unlocked something I didn't know was still inside me. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because somehow, I already knew this wasn't their first visit. They turned and walked away. Still silent. Still slow. The sheet edges barely moved, as though the night itself resisted their motion. I watched them until they disappeared into the dark. Not a single word between them. Not a thank you. Not even a glance back. Just gone. I shut the door. Locked it. Then slid the deadbolt. Just to be sure. My hands were shaking, but I didn't want to admit that to myself yet. I stood there in the dim kitchen light, listening, waiting for another knock, or the creak of the porch steps, or footsteps across the yard. But there was nothing. I told myself it was just teenagers. That's what I wanted to believe. Some clever prank. Kids being weird. Kids trying to scare the guy who never gave out candy anymore. Maybe I was the urban legend now. The bitter man in the cabin who turns off all the lights every Halloween. Maybe I had it coming. I went to bed, eventually. Didn't sleep much. The quiet was too heavy. I must have closed my eyes at some point, though, because when I opened them again, the sun was up. I stepped outside just before 8, coffee in one hand, the other rubbing the back of my neck. My body ached, my thoughts still cloudy. That's when I saw them. 2 figures, standing on the front lawn. I stopped mid-step. Coffee nearly spilled. My brain tried to make sense of what I was looking at. They were dressed exactly the same. White sheets, black holes where the eyes should be, just like last night. But they weren't moving, not even a little, just frozen in place, arms by their sides, facing the house, facing me. I walked down the porch steps slowly. My legs didn't feel connected to my body anymore. I thought they were mannequins at first. Some kind of sick joke. Maybe someone left them there during the night. Maybe one of the neighbors had finally decided to get back at me for all the years I ignored their kids. But the closer I got, the more wrong everything felt. They weren't plastic. They weren't foam. And they weren't wearing costumes. The sheets weren't fabric. I don't even think they were sewn. They clung to the bodies underneath in a way that didn't make sense. Like skin, like they grew that way. And the eye holes? Too deep, too dark. There was no end to them. That's when I called the sheriff's office. I didn't even know what to say at first. I just stammered through it until the words finally spilled out. Kids, mannequins on my lawn. Halloween. They sent a deputy. I knew him. Seen him around town before. Younger guy. Used to play football back in the day. He pulled up with a smirk. Chewing gum. Clearly expecting to find something stupid. I waved him over. He took one look and stopped walking. Didn't even make it halfway across the yard. You think this is funny? He asked me, real quiet. No more gum chewing. His eyes stayed fixed on them, not even blinking. Is this your idea of a prank? I didn't answer. Didn't know how. He stepped a little closer, like he didn't want to, but felt like he had to. Then he stopped again. He bent slightly forward, squinted. Then his face went pale. This isn't a costume, he said under his breath. This isn't right. We both stood there, not speaking, until he finally shook himself out of it and asked to see the footage from my security camera. I hadn't watched it. I didn't want to, but he did. We sat in my living room. He didn't take off his coat, just stared at the screen as the footage loaded. And there they were, 12:17 a.m. on the dot. The two kids. They walked into frame from the left side. Slowly, deliberately. Their arms moved, but stiffly. Their heads tilted slightly toward the porch, but not in a human way. The angles were all wrong, like their necks bent just a little too far. But the worst part? They didn't blink. Not once. Not even when the porch light, supposed to be motion triggered, flickered once and died out completely. They stood there in the dark like they could see anyway. And when I opened the door, their heads turned at the same time. Slowly. No reaction. No flinch. Just turned. As if they already knew I'd be there. As if they'd been waiting. Then one of them spoke. Even on the footage, the whisper came through clear. One last trick or treat. The deputy backed away from the screen. Didn't say anything for a few seconds. His breathing changed. Shallow, like he was trying not to be sick. Then he looked at me. Really looked. I don't think those were kids, he said quietly. They were wearing something kid-shaped, but they weren't kids. I waited, tried to make sense of what I just heard. He took a step toward the door, then paused. I've heard stories, he muttered. A few, from the older folks. Things showing up on Halloween night. Things wearing the wrong skin. They knock. You answer. You give them something. They leave. You ignore them. He trailed off. They don't like being ignored. He didn't stay much longer. Didn't give me advice. Didn't offer protection. Just said he'd file a report and left. And I was alone again. Except I wasn't, was I? Because those things, they were still out there. And I had the feeling they weren't finished with me yet. I didn't sleep that night. Not for a second. I couldn't. Every noise, every shift in the house. Had my eyes wide open. The floor would creak now and then. Nothing new in an old place like mine. But it didn't sound the same anymore. It didn't sound random. It had rhythm. Like movement. Like weight. Like footsteps too small for an adult. I told myself it was a house settling. Though I knew better. The way the sounds moved. from the hallway to the base of the stairs, then up again, pausing just outside my bedroom door. Nothing about it felt accidental. Around midnight, I gave up pretending. I got out of bed, pulled on a sweater, and went downstairs. My body felt like it was moving underwater, slow and heavy. I didn't even bother turning on the lights. I just stood in the living room, trying to breathe. Then I remembered the cameras. I walked over to the monitor, clicked through the different angles. Nothing at the front door, nothing on the porch, nothing near the back gate. Then I flipped to the outer camera, the one near the tree line, and I saw it, there, standing at the very edge of the property, right where my lawn met the dark, just barely inside the view of the camera. One of them, still, facing the house. I watched the footage for 10 minutes. It never moved. Not once. Not a sway. Not a twitch. Just standing, like it had been placed there, and was waiting for someone to come pick it up. I should have called someone. I should have driven into town, knocked on a door, any door, found a crowded place, and stayed there until morning. But I didn't. Instead, I sat there, in the dark, staring at that screen, waiting, and then, at exactly 12:17, the door creaked. I heard it, plain as day, that long, slow groan of wood that's been pushed open just enough to let something slip through. I froze. I had locked that door. I remember doing it, twice. I even tested the handle before heading upstairs. But I heard it move, and once you hear something like that, you don't need to go look. Your body already knows. They were inside. I didn't move at first. Just sat on the edge of the couch, hands gripping my knees, eyes fixed on the staircase. I didn't hear footsteps this time. That would have been too easy. Too human. What I heard instead was nothing. Nothing at all. The kind of stillness that hurts your ears. Then I felt it. The change in the air. The temperature dropped. Sharp and sudden. I could see my breath float in front of me. And then I saw them. Not walking. Just gliding. Two figures, silent as a grave, moving across the floor like they didn't need the ground at all. Their sheets didn't sway or ripple like fabric should. They held tight to whatever was beneath. If there even was anything. They stopped a few feet in front of me. No eyes. No faces. No hands. Just those black holes. Then one leaned in. So close, I could hear the sound of it breathing in, but I never saw its chest move. "You forgot the candy last year," it whispered. "And the year before." I couldn't respond. I couldn't even swallow. My tongue was heavy. My limbs felt far away, like they belonged to someone else entirely. Then the lights went out. All of them. At once. The hum of the fridge stopped. The clock on the wall died. The air conditioner gave one last gasp and went silent. And the house had started to shake. Not violently. Not enough to throw things off the shelves. But just enough to remind you that the ground beneath you isn't yours. The walls around you? Just decoration. Whatever rules you thought your house obeyed, none of them mattered anymore. The cold was unbearable. My breath came out in long, heavy clouds. My skin prickled. My ears ached. I closed my eyes. Not because I was brave. Because I couldn't bear to see what they were about to do. And then light, a flash, blinding, white hot, for just a second. And they were gone. Gone like they'd never been there. No door slam. No gust of wind. Just absence. I stood up, eventually, legs trembling, every joint stiff. I walked to the front door, checked the lock. Still latched. Deadbolt still turned. But the door had opened. I had heard it, and they had been inside. I didn't sleep after that. Didn't sit down. Just stood there until the first blue light of morning crept through the windows. I knew what they wanted now. It was never about the candy. It was about the years I stayed quiet. The nights I turned off the lights and pretended no one was there. The knocks I ignored. The costumes I never admired. The children I turned away, real or not. They remembered, and they came back. Morning came like it always does. Light pressed through the curtains, soft and warm. Birds chirped in the distance. Cars passed by without urgency. It looked like any other day, so normal it was almost insulting. The kind of morning that tries to convince you that nothing happened, that you dreamt too much, and maybe drank a little more than you remembered. But I didn't dream, and I hadn't touched a drop. I got out of bed slow, careful with each step. My legs still remembered the fear, even if my mind was trying to forget. I moved through the house like I was trespassing in my own home. Then I saw it, lying there on the edge of the sheets, folded like a little paper promise. A candy wrapper, orange and black, crinkled, shiny, just sitting there like it belonged. I hadn't brought candy to bed. I hadn't even eaten any. My hands shook when I reached down to pick it up. It felt cold, colder than anything in that room had any right to be, like it had been sitting outside in frost for hours. It left a little mark on my fingers, a smudge of something sticky and sweet. That was when I realized I hadn't imagined them, any of it, and it hadn't ended. Around noon, there was a knock at the door. I hesitated. Just the sound alone made my skin crawl. I nearly didn't answer, but the daylight gave me false courage. I opened the door just enough to see who it was. My neighbor, old guy, lived 3 houses down. He was smiling, friendly as ever. "Hey," he said, "you got company this week? I saw the little ones in the yard last night. Thought maybe your nieces or nephews were visiting. Cute costumes." I stared at him, and then I said the only thing I could. "I live alone." His smile faltered. He blinked, like he thought I was making a joke, but wasn't sure if he should laugh yet. I didn't laugh. He stepped back, muttered something polite, and walked off. I closed the door gently, quietly, like if I moved too loud, I might wake something up. All day I kept waiting. Every room I walked into, I checked the corners first. Every time I passed a mirror, I glanced over my shoulder. I didn't leave the house. I didn't eat. I didn't turn on any lights after sundown. I sat in the living room, waiting. Around midnight, I turned the TV on, just for background noise. I thought maybe the sound would make me feel less alone. It flickered. No channels, just static. Then, right when I reached the remote, the screen shifted. The snow cleared, just for a second, and a voice came through, faint, whispering, like it was leaning in from the other side of the glass. "One last trick-or-treat." That's all it said. Then it cut out, back to static. I didn't move for a long time. I think I forgot how. Then I heard it, a soft shuffle, down the hall. I didn't see anything at first, just a hint of movement, like the dark had started to breathe. And then there it was, a shape, not quite formed, not quite there, passing through the hallway like smoke with weight. No footsteps, no sound, just presence. It stopped near the doorway, didn't come closer, didn't need to, because I knew I wasn't alone anymore, and I haven't been since. Every night now, I hear something, a whisper, a creak, sometimes laughter, small and dry, like leaves being stepped on. I've stopped turning on the TV. I don't answer the door. I don't open the blinds. They waited too long, you see. All those years I ignored them. Pretended I didn't hear the knocking. Pretended Halloween didn't exist. They never forgot. And now, they're making up for lost time. I'm not sure what they are. Spirits? Ghosts? Something older? I don't even know if they're human anymore. They didn't look like anything I've ever seen. They weren't trick-or-treaters, not in the way you think of them. They were something else. Something that was there to remind me of the rules I thought I could break. But I did break them, didn't I? I thought I could skip out on the tradition. Let Halloween pass by like any other night. Big mistake. I didn't know back then that Halloween isn't just about costumes or candy or the fun of it all. It's about something deeper, something older, the kind of thing that demands respect. And when I ignored it, when I thought I was above it, That's when they came for me. I've spent every night since that Halloween wondering if I could have done something different. If I could have figured out what they wanted before it was too late. But that's the thing, isn't it? When they come, they don't give you any warnings. No signs. Just a knock, and then they're in. They're here. And they don't leave until they've got what they came for. Now, as I sit here, telling you this, I'm not sure if you'll listen. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll laugh it off, like I used to. I would have laughed at me, too. But if you're listening to this, let me give you one last piece of advice. Don't break the tradition. Don't make the mistake I did. On Halloween night, leave the candy out. It's not just about the sweets. It's not about the treats at all. It's about showing respect. A small gesture, but one that could save you from the kind of regret I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. They said it was their last trick or treat. But I don't think they were talking about just this year. I don't think they ever plan on leaving. Thanks for watching Eerie's short and scary stories. If this tale chilled you to the bone, make sure to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more horror every week. Until next time, leave the lights on, and don't forget the candy.